Illingworth is leading his team from the field. A sensational incident.
Ray Illingworth taking his team from the field in 1971. The story of the walk-off. The 7th Test was played for the first time in cricket history following a washout in Melbourne. Australia needed a win to square the series and retain the Ashes. Ian Chappell took over from the deposed Bill Lawry as captain and, on winning the toss, sent England in. The move paid off as England were all out for 184. However, Australia was 6 runs behind England with 7 wickets down when Jenner joined Greg Chappell. In the commentary box, Alan Marks.
7 for 178, and the new batsman will be Terry Jenner. And he's waiting for Snow, who's coming in from the northern end. And Jenner is hit on the head. Jenner getting a short delivery outside the line of the leg stump. He backed away towards square leg. The ball followed him across and hit him on the head just above the left ear, and I can see blood starting to come out of that wound. The England skipper Illingworth, wicketkeeper Alan Knott signalling to the dressing room, and I've got no doubt that Terry Jenner's going to be asked to leave the field. Jenner very wonky on his feet. He's being carried off by Peter Lever, and there's Bob Willis marching along carrying Jenner's bat, but Jenner retired hurt, and now Lou Rowan, the umpire, is taking action. He's had a few words to Snow. Illingworth questions it. Now umpire Rowan has signalled across towards the square leg umpire Tom Brooks, and he said that he's giving John Snow a warning. Ray Illingworth is adamant that there's only been 1 short pitch delivery in this over, and he's not happy with the situation at all. John Snow has been given his first warning, and Ray Illingworth has protested to the umpire very vehemently. So Snow to Lilly, and he's beaten down the leg side, the ball taking him on the pad as Lilly shaped to play it, but the ball was too wide of the leg stump and taken behind by Knott. So that's the end of a remarkable over by John Snow. Terry Jenner retired hurt. John Snow takes his cap and now getting boos and hoots from the crowd as he walks down towards fine leg, and a few beer cans starting to be thrown onto the ground. Drinks have come onto the ground. John Snow is down at the fine leg position. He's been called back to the huddle of his teammates by the England skipper Ray Illingworth, and Illingworth has now decided to stage a sit-in. He's not going to allow play to continue until these cans have been cleared from the field. Well, John Snow coming under the ire of the crowd at time for bowling that short pitch delivery, which felled Terry Jenner. And now we've got the scoreboard attendant coming away from behind the scoreboard to try and clear this debris off the field. Now John Snow has gone down to the fence, and he's been grabbed. A nasty incident here. One of the spectators has reached over the fence and is grabbing Snow. He swings a left hand at Snow's head, Snow backing away, and fortunately this irate spectator has been grabbed by some of his mates behind the fence and dragged down to his sitting position again. Now Bob Willis has come across from mid-on. He's there to protect Snow. A lot of cans being thrown onto the field. Now Illingworth coming across, and it looks as though he might change positions. It looks as though he's leaving Willis down to mid-on and he wants to move Snow. And no, Illingworth signalling to his team. They're starting to walk off the field. Illingworth is leading his team from the field. A sensational incident that began with a few cans being thrown at John Snow as he walked down towards fine leg. Snow went over to the barricades. One of them grabbed him. A few more cans and bottles thrown onto the field, and Ray Illingworth, obviously aware of protecting his players, doesn't want to have them hurt in any way, and he's leading his team from the field. The England team staging a walk-off. The 2 batsmen, Dennis Lilly and Greg Chappell, just remaining in the middle of the pitch. They're going to stay there until the England team comes back onto the field, and they certainly won't be let out again by Illingworth until all this rubbish has been cleared right off the playing surface.
What led to that walk-off? The confrontation between England captain Ray Illingworth and the umpire Lou Rowan is recalled by Greg Chappell.
Oh, they had a bit of a running battle, mainly over the fact that Snowy had been no-balled a number of times and then had been warned for bowling a bouncer after he'd struck Terry Jenner on the head. And to be fair, I suppose the ball that hit Terry Jenner, and he'd be the first one to admit it, wasn't really a bouncer. It was just short of a length. Terry, being sort of middle-order, tail-end batsman, probably suffered from the fact that he was expecting a bouncer at any stage, and when he saw one a bit short, he tried to duck under it and hit him on the back of the head, ducking into it, really. But that was sort of a culmination of a bit of aggravation that had gone on, particularly between Snow and Lou Rowan, over the fact that Snow had been no-balled a number of times, and the frustration that he was feeling, obviously he took it out on anyone that was around him, and particularly Lou Rowan. So that was obvious to the crowd as well, and there was a bit of aggravation with Snowy fielding on the fence. There were a lot of people in that area of the fine leg fence that were obviously having a go at him as well. In fact, one of them finished up grabbing his shirt. But even that could have been avoided, possibly. In fact, I think Ray Illingworth tried to avoid it because drinks during that session. Illingworth said to Shuttleworth, I think it was, that you'd better go down to fine leg, and Snowy, you go to third man. And Snowy said, no, I want to go back down to fine leg. So he was in the mood for a bit of a confrontation at that stage, and with all the frustration and the pressure that was building up with it being a close test match, that's how it all blew up.
What was Ray Illingworth's view of the incident?
I think I would do the same thing again. I've been involved in bottle throwing incidents in the West Indies and places, and on those occasions we stayed on the pitch, and the pitch got worse and worse. It just littered with bottles and we had to go off. I lost 5 to 10 minutes at the most. If I stayed on, we'd have lost 5 minutes from clearing the bottles. With no more incidents that day, I think this was the answer.
Illingworth was further questioned about the umpiring.
I think if you take any test series, you'll always find 2 or 3 mistakes over a series. It's impossible not to have them. And I think looking back, there have probably been very little mistakes on this series as a whole. As you know, we had this problem the other day when I think John Snow was unfairly warned.
What were the feelings of the England manager, David Clarke?
Of course, you're always unhappy about incidents. They are not rarely part of cricket, are they? It was quite clear that Rowan cautioned Snow under the persistent short ball ruling, Law 46, and passed that warning on, again, quite rightly, under the sequence of events in these things, to both Ray Illingworth and to Tom Brooks, the other umpire. Ray and I both said to the umpires when they came in the dressing room that just as soon as the ground was clear and the spectators had been given a warning that play would commence only when the spectators stopped throwing missiles at the fieldsmen, then the England team would go back onto the ground straight away.
The central figure in all the commotion was umpire Lou Rowan.
Well, Ray Illingworth became a bit upset because I spoke to John Snow about bowling too many bounces. He had injured one of our Australian players, and I spoke to him about that and suggested he ease up on the bounces. Well, of course, John got a bit upset about that, and he had a fair bit to say about it. And then Ray Illingworth came over and wanted to know what was going on. I just said, well, I've spoken to Snow about his bowling, and I've given him a caution. And then Ray bought into the argument good and proper. He said, well, this is not fair. He said, you can't caution him. It's the only bouncer he's bowled. And he was obviously upset about it. And I said, well, look, I'll have to decide what constitutes fair play, and the decision's been made. Well, Ray just said then, well, you know, I'll have plenty to say about you before I'm finished. He said, I'll report you. And things settled down to a point. Snow had a bit more to say, and I gave him some what I thought was good advice, and the game started to flow again. And then a short time later, there was a bit of an incident down the fence, after which, without any further comment, Illingworth led the team from the field. And as you may recall, the umpires, Brooksy and I, both followed them off the ground. I went to the room, spoke to Illingworth, and suggested to him that he take the team back on the field, otherwise England would forfeit the game.
In the commentary box, the scene was confused. Our dismayed commentators, Brian Johnson and Lindsay Hassett.
Well, now, I just don't know what the position is here. Whether the game will go on this evening, I don't know. There's about 50 minutes due for play. The 2 umpires are coming back onto the ground. There's something like about 20 policemen or 20 odd policemen going around the outside trying to get rid of the cans from the field. There's about, I suppose, another 20 or 30 or 40 spectators on the ground, some of whom appear to be trying to get rid of the cans, but I would say that if anything happens here this evening, I'd be really doubtful if the play would go on. 2 umpires coming back onto the oval. The 2 batsmen have been on the middle of the oval during the whole of this set up, and now some announcement has been made over the loudspeaker system.
Lindsay, it was Alan Barnes, the secretary, saying that the ground will be cleared and that the play will continue. In other words, the police have come on, they're going to remove the beer cans, and the game will continue. And here comes the England side out again, being led by Ray Illingworth. You can listen to their reception.
And so the game continued. England won by 62 runs, thus regaining the Ashes. The England hero was John Snow, who took 31 wickets in the series. He was a principal figure in the walk-off, but by a strange twist took no further part in the match after badly breaking a finger early in Australia's second innings. For the final word on the walk-off in the 7th Test, England's manager, David Clarke.
I think that Englishmen are slightly stubborn creatures, and if things perhaps have hurt them or things have gone a little that way, they tend to react in that manner.